Earth's Revenge.
Oh my god!
I'm gonna put some...
It's the sequel to just Earth.
Yeah.
The first
Earth.
Earth, the first.
Oh no. I thought we killed Earth and now he's back.
Yeah.
Spoilers, guys. He's back and he's ready. He's ready to spill blood and he's ready to FUCK.
Nice.
Yeah.
What is...
I don't think that's allowed.
I don't think that's allowed, actually.
Actually, I think you're very incorrect.
Jesus Christ.
Actually, Eren was a time traveler, and that's how he was able to take the Founding Titans' powers.
I hate this.
Actually, Goku's stronger than Eren. I'm just gonna see how many of these can kill you, Blue.
I think the better question is how many of these can you do before I kill you?
You know what? That's fair. That's the scariest thing you've said to me ever.
Good. Alright, do we want to go... No, this isn't right. Sorry, my music on Roll20 is messed up right now. Can we hear that? Okay, I think we'll go with that one.
I can't hear anything, but I think that's just... Probably, I'll refresh.
Sounds like music.
That's probably...
Never mind.
Okay.
Oh.
Alright. Recap?
Yes.
Well, you see, I think a lot happened. Hold on, let me... Yeah. So, you guys had gotten out of the scary underwater caves that were full of things that were also in your dream. And after getting out, you managed to make it all the way back up to the surface of the ocean, still in the midst of this terrible, terrible, terrible storm. You were separated as you reached the top, as Dodie was also struck with a harpoon made out of black necrotic energy, and pulled from the water. When you guys were separated, Gore, you ended up smashing your back against a boat that you did not recognize, a small, almost like one-person sailboat. You managed to crawl aboard, take a little bit of an investigation around, see the really incredibly detailed maps over all the walls and everything. And you also saw across the water where Saphael, your companion for a while, was strung up with all of these chains of black necrotic energy, hung above the water, playing music from his violin to stop the chains from basically pulling him up through the air into this strange armored sky ship of sorts. A small one, probably more of a vessel than a ship, but he was stuck there playing, bleeding down into the water, and nearly motionless aside from the music and his arms moving. Aerithar, you were flailing around in the water. You cannot swim. As you smashed into the side of Stan, your boat, attempting to crawl aboard, almost falling back in the water, getting saved by Earth 2, and finally making it up onto semi-stable ground. Oldet had also been thrown off into a different part of the water, and as you, Aerithar, started to come around the corner, you also saw Saphael in the state that he was in, and someone else walk across your boat. someone that you actually did manage to recognize after a moment as the Order Proxy of the Imolith, aka kind of the fourth most powerful person in the world. As he basically walked up to Saphael and started to pull him down from the chains. Dodie attempted to fight against her own harpoon and fight EQ, who you recognized. In all of this mess, Gore, you saw the fight starting to go down, and decided, hey, I think I can make this boat fly and crash into that sky boat, and I think I can make them explode. And so you attempted to do so. You helped Oldet out of the water. Oldet immediately started tearing all of the maps down on your instruction, gathering anything they could from the boat, before you managed to get the boat to fly and crash into the other ship. Saphael was banished from this plane, forced back into the Shadowfell, and out of reality, basically. The fight then continued, Gore attempting to also fight EQ, Aerithar kind of trying to help where he could, also keeping Gore alive, only for Dodie as well to be grabbed by this figure and banished instead to the Feywild. After that, Gore, you continued to try to fight EQ, who basically got his fingers in your brain and said, hey, start walking. You were almost about to walk off the side of the boat when Aerithar started talking to EQ and was like, hey man, what if you just left? we won't say nothing. You could just leave and leave us alone. And then he did, for some reason.
Shout out.
What a homie.
That left the now
For real.
three of you to gather your things and navigate your way out of the storm. It took you a while before the storm really started to settle down, and you all took the evening to try and rest up, look over the maps, get your bearings, and take watches for the night. I believe we had gotten through one full watch of Aerithar and Oldet basically staying up and looking through their notebooks and writing journal entries and trying to think about everything as best they can before Gore took his watch, and I believe we ended with Gore waking up within his slumber to absolute nothingness. So.
As you do, I guess.
Yeah. So I think we can jump right into it. So, turn the music down just slightly for while Gore's streaming. So, Aerithar, you had managed to sleep relatively uneventfully. You've started to get used to how the boat rocks when you sleep. It is still a strange sensation, but it's fine. You wake up and start to take your watch, and nothing really eventful seems to happen. In the meantime, Gore, you had laid down, finally putting your body to rest after probably like close to 36 hours of pure adrenaline.
Oh, I'm so sorry. 1 second. I'm getting a phone call from work.
Oh yeah, no problem.
I will be right back.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. I love on the streaming screen, there's only half of us at a time. It's really funny.
This is the bit where we riff off of each other now. Unscripted. So, your mom,
Damn.
checkmate.
I'm just thinking about Urf too.
Yeah, that's fair. He's a clay guy.
He eats rats
I was about to say he eats rats.
down in the hatch.
Eats rats down in the hatch.
That's his job.
Earth 2. Yeah. He doesn't. He doesn't really have any. Is he officially employed? No. But Stan considers him to be one of his own.
Yeah.
So he lets him eat rats
Mm-hmm.
down in the hatch. There we go.
That's what he was made for.
I think
Literally.
my brain is trying to kill itself in the video game right now.
It's like that. Oh,
Yeah.
I have returned.
hello. Welcome back.
What did you say?
Who?
Who? Oh, Tyler. Can you say I have returned?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was like, my brain. My brain didn't know if you said returned or returneth or something else. So I was like, what did you say?
Well,
Anyway,
Okay.
yes. You're asleep.
Yes.
It doesn't take you long to fall asleep. It takes you a little bit of effort to get your brain to settle down, but once that adrenaline finally wears off, the actual act of sleeping is near instantaneous. You fall into that slumber rocked by the waves, now less choppy and more gradual. And that sensation has been familiar for a long time. And you fall into a very deep slumber quite quickly. But the darkness, the emptiness here, in sleeping, had started to feel familiar as well. When you woke within your dream, eyes still closed, still knowing you were asleep, the darkness had a certain dreamlike quality to its stark contrast to reality. But this night, something had changed. The vast darkness that opened into pitch black water as your eyes opened felt real. Haunting. Imposingly real. You're floating in water, like you had before. No seafloor in view, and no cresting waves neither. You wait for a moment in this cold expanse, skin and scales stinging with the chill. You weren't built for water this deep. Nearly nothing was. And so you wait. And you wait. And after a while of no change, your mind begins to wander through every event leading here. Is there anything in particular that you're, really fixating on or thinking about?
I think you would really try and think about you would really focus on everything he saw whenever they were underwater in that temple, including that boat that he saw and just everything, especially with what Odette had told him.
You start to focus in on the previous days, and you think about the boat and the strange iconography on it, and it kind of naturally flows in a way like water into everything else that you saw. And that temple-like structure, naturally, accidentally built from falling pieces of stone and broken, dead coral in whatever that pit was in the center. It had formed a temple as if the ocean itself had willed it to. But something's behind you. You freeze, stilling in the water, floating motionless. You can't turn around. But you feel eyes on your back. Massive eyes that cast a sickly mint glow in the water around you, finally illuminating the space. But just barely. Like a candle in an open field. Suddenly the pressure of the water around you feels emotional. Like every sinister thought, every depressing emotion you've ever felt suddenly overtakes you. It's crushing. Before something rolls over you even stronger. Impatient. Roiling emotions indescribable to you suddenly boil behind your head. Everything building and building and building. Every emotion you felt mixed in with emotions that you could not even describe if you tried. Roiling and boiling behind you. A long tail slinks through the water underneath you, just out of sight. Words suddenly forming in your head, though you're unsure if you hear them over the sound of water and the pressure that it creates inside your ears. Windows are closing. Slashed wounds bleeding out life. Suddenly, as strong as everything had become, it all disappears. All feeling, all pressure, all sensation of crackling electricity that inhabits every living thing on the planet. Gone. The nothingness is incomprehensible. Empty. Then you wake up. You sit up now in the morning, wood slats underneath your hands as you lean over the side of your cot as boutfuls of salt water start to bubble up in your lungs, and you have to cough them out to expel them.
Usual Sunday afternoon.
Mm-hmm. You look around, seeing yourself, again, not in water, but in the belly of Stan, which is a sentence. And you can hear your companions walking on the slats above you, and you also think you can hear Earth 2 skittering as fast as possible down the corridor. But, you know, that's his thing. He does that. But you are now awake. Arathar, has there been anything that you've been doing in these, like, really early morning moments?
I think once during the night, once he's done journaling, he kind of checks every now and then on like the sails as best as he can, not touching too much, not, you know, trying to see if everything's okay and kind of over things. But as it gets kind of in the morning, he mostly keeps an eye out for whoever wakes up first. And I think if it's Oldet before it's Gore, he'll probably get out of Oldet's way.
Mm-hmm.
And let Oldet kind of take over things, and he'll go more over or towards where the sails are, kind of looking out.
He definitely notices, not probably, that Oldet wakes up pretty early in the morning, like as the sun is rising, and just kind of walks out without saying anything, and walks to the front of the boat and just sits down and watches the water for probably about an hour before Gore wakes up.
Okay.
So, Gore, is there anything that you're doing in this moment, having just expelled seawater from your lungs?
he's just gonna try to recoup on the bed probably for like a few minutes.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and then he'll just get up and probably join everybody on the deck. Make sure everything is double check Arathar on all the sails and such.
Yep. You make
Feel
your way.
like, God, did he fuck anything up?
You make your way up topside, and you can see that there's still several large clouds in the sky, though none of them are dark enough that they really seem to cause any worry for you. The wind, however, has picked up quite a bit in the morning, and you know that that's probably good for your day of sailing ahead of you. Everything looks to be as it was left. Nothing immediately catches your eye outside the boat or on the boat of being like, oh fuck, God, we gotta do something. It seems like a quiet, windy morning. Is there anything that either of you are doing to get your day started?
I think he'll just, as he's checking, probably just be like, "Morning, Arathar. Morning, Oldet."
Oldet by this point has gotten up and has like cracked their back and done like a couple stretches and like started to walk towards where the rest of you are and kind of just waves.
I think Or will take his post at the wheel.
Yep.
Yeah.
There
Sorry.
it is.
Bless you.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry. For like the past like minute. Sorry, it's been like fading in and out. Sorry. Arathar's gonna walk over towards where Gore is, over by that thing, right? The wheel.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. I always want to call it the steering wheel. It is, but like it's not. It's like, doesn't it have like a fancier term?
Probably.
Probably, yeah. But anyway, he's gonna walk over towards where Gore is. Just so you know, the evening was surprisingly uneventful. There's nothing to report.
Well, thank goodness.
No.
I don't know if I could take
also, I
another
did-
underwater temple dive.
Twice in one trip would be very uncreative of the ocean to do to us. I did do some looking in my notes. Your dirty wrapped thing. Do you still have that?
He perks up a little bit. Oh, you mean he reaches in his bag and brings out the mushy cloth? Oh, you mean this?
Yes.
He unfurls it.
It's like it like sticks
I
to
don't
it
think-
slightly, like.
Yeah, I don't think he showed Arathar.
No.
So Arathar,
No.
yeah, shitty blob of a pirate hat.
It is the most stereotypically shaped pirate hat you've ever seen in your life. It's got the little white, you think it's supposed to be white, painted skull and crossbones on it, but it's been molded over, and so it's this weird greenish gray mildewy color.
Ah, I see. And you
You can have
recovered this at the bottom of the ocean. What?
Well, it wasn't wasn't in the water. Well,
But it
obviously,
was where you were, where you fell.
yeah, I found it in the boat.
Oh, the boat where you found leeches.
Mm-hmm.
Same. same vessel, same diseases, and he pulls out his gloves and pulls them
That's
on.
why I asked you to.
He kind of.
That's why I asked if you could clean it, and he hands it over.
I know. I still feel compelled to say something. And I think he's gonna cast Prestidigitation at least 27 times.
Yeah, you take it over to the railing around the bit where the wheel is as Gore continues to start to steer, as Oldet unfurls the sails and you guys start to take off. You take it over to the railing and kind of set it down so you don't have to touch it so much, and just stand there and cast the spell over and 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 over. Gore, at a certain point, you look back and can see that, like, it looks pretty much clean. It looks like it might be a little dusty, but all the mold is definitely gone. Like, it's a little beat up. It's probably not that new of a purchase for whoever died down there. But Aerithar is still casting that spell, just a couple extra times.
Sorry, another work call. I'm so sorry.
Oh, you're good. He's a busy guy.
You're fine. What the hell is happening in Books-A-Million?
It's on fire.
Oh my god, I hope not. Yeah, I think Discord just hates your computer plug.
I think
My Discord or my computer hates your. Yeah, because it's like for a couple of times you've been fine, and then it goes back. So if I'm quiet every now and then, it's because I'm like, because it's the audio's not caught up with the visual. I'm like, oh, is he saying anything else? I just want to make sure, like, if I lag a little bit, it's because I want to make sure everyone's done talking.
Yeah. Understandable.
Because things have to be more complicated than they should be.
Apparently. Oh.
I am so sorry. It
Oh,
should be
you're
good
good.
now.
You're a busy guy.
These guys cannot do anything by themselves.
Is it on? Is it the building on fire?
No. I would have to
No.
go to the building if it was on fire.
You know what? That's true. I would respect you for just chilling here, though.
Okay.
Alright. You look over and see Aerithar casting the spell on the hat probably more times than needs to be done.
Like a bug lands on it and gets thrown into the wind.
Just bug ruins the whole decontamination process.
It's gotta go.
I will say, after you took the hat from Gore, and as Aerithar has gone off with it to clean it, he seems really giddy, and he seemed like super down whenever he was steering first in the morning.
I think at least after the 33rd time he casts it, he kind of brushes it off with his hands and then casts it 3 more times, and then goes over to where you are, your hat.
He takes it and immediately puts it on.
Yep. That's a pirate hat.
What do you think? He's steering the boat and he's all like jacked up, looking nice, like he's about to get a painting of himself.
I think that you certainly look the part, if that's what you're going for.
Well, yeah.
Just this 7-foot tall, jacked as fuck lizard steering a ship that says Stan that's got curtains on the front. With the most stereotypical pirate hat you've ever seen in your life. Yeah.
One day this ship will be his masterpiece, don't worry. Think
I'm so sorry.
They need you, Tyler.
oh my god, I just now realized what I'm so sorry is. Oh my god.
We'll get there. They'll learn to be self-sufficient one of these minutes.
It's got to be someone new.
Oh my god. Cheers.
I forgot about the prestidigitate, that one. I forgot about that one. Before, like, just as you mentioned leveling up, I was like, oh fuck, Aerothar's got a clean Gore's hat.
Yeah. Has to.
Yeah, it was important.
This music is
7
really
foot tall
getting me.
lizard. I can't hear it anymore.
It's kind of just like, it's
Okay.
almost like trance music.
Interesting.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. You're a very important person.
Yeah. Anyways,
That's
so
our president.
Gore's gonna try and get Odette's attention.
Odette,
Like
who
waving like,
has
Odette!
climbed up the mast by this point and is standing on top of the sails, just like looking out over the ocean. You like wave up at them and they turn around. You're just like, and you hear them go, "Oh shit!" And they jump off of the mast and land on the railing, like crouched on the railing in front of you, in front of the wheel. It's far less gross now.
Yes, it's clean! It's the greatest thing ever.
It's very piratey.
Yeah, I would say so.
I think it's like the most piratey you can get.
Yeah, it's very like storybook pirate hat.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. I will never let it go.
It does suit you. Very, just something about the image that is happening right here. It just makes sense.
Thank you, Aerithar. I've never had my own pirate hat before, so this is a first.
Weren't you a pirate?
Most pirates don't really actually wear pirate hats.
Yeah, it's
Like, I feel like,
Is it just...
like, I don't know, like, most pirates that I've seen not wearing pirate hats.
yeah, if anything, maybe the captain. Most of the time not.
It also tends to be like a customized one.
Yeah, not
But
stereotypical.
not just like a stereotypical...
Yeah, no.
So that one's probably... We already know it's very old. It's probably like at least 3 or 4 varies before the
You feel-
old.
He feels around it. What if this is the pirate hat?
The pirate hat to start all pirate hats.
Yes! It's a relic!
I hope for you
I
that
think
it
if
is.
that's the case,
I will cherish it.
Yeah. It's very shaped.
I feel like by definition, if that's the first pirate hat that ever existed, if you ever meet any pirates that tried to challenge you, you can probably use that excuse and say that you outrank them and you don't have to fight them. I don't know how pirate rules
No,
work,
I'll just
though,
beat
but
No, I'll just beat the shit out of him. But good thinking.
it's also a solution. But if you wanted to avoid that, then there you go. You don't seem... It doesn't really seem like an option for you, though.
I just thought of a One Piece joke, but I'm gonna keep it to myself.
Not to interrupt pirate hat time. But I did look at some of the shit that you asked me to last night.
Oh, sweet. What'd you find?
Well, like, the first thing that I tried to, like,
think about, like, the ship that you were talking about. And I'm gonna be honest, I don't really remember seeing that boat ever around, like, Mistcraft or anything. But, like, the only thing that I could kind of think of that, like, kind of relates to it is that time that crate of, like, mutated crabs and fish on ice washed ashore. There was, like, a block of ice in a crate, and it had, like, a bunch of, like, weird, like, three-tailed fish and some, like, fucked up crabs in there. I was away from the arches at that point, but some of the other monks, like, called me back because they wanted me to, like, take a look at it. I don't know what was going on there. I've never seen fish like that. I assume maybe they're from, like, a different region, like one of, like, the colder regions, because, you know, like, block of ice. But honestly, I don't know. But, like, there were some, like, fucked up crabs and three-tailed fish in there, so I don't know if that's related.
Is it like the leeches? Or like different kind of fucked up?
It might be related, but it wasn't, like... The stuff that's going on with the leeches is kind of specific. That's, like, a longer conversation that if we want to, like, kind of, like, lock the wheel in the direction that we need to go and, like, have that conversation, like, I can explain it. But I'm just saying, like, for right now, like, baseline, first thing that I thought of last night, fucked up fish.
Okay. You know, now that I think about it, it did have three tails on it.
Yeah.
Front little ship.
On the boat?
Yeah, and it did have claws. Interesting.
Yeah, there was, like, there was one crab in that box that had, like, 9 legs. It was weird.
I can't say I've ever seen
Know
that
if it
before.
seemed- Do you know if it was, like, natural, or was there, like, evidence of experimentation of any kind?
Like, it was it's hard to say, because, like, you know how, like, there's different animals and different fish in different regions, and, like, I'm pretty well acquainted with the ones that are in the parts of the world that I travel through, because you gotta eat somehow. But these all seemed like, you know, the weird fucked up crabs they have, like, up near, like, the Icier Keep that have, like, the ridiculously long legs? Is that just me?
Yeah.
It was like a juvenile one of those, but it had, like, 9 legs. And there were a bunch of other ones of those that were, like, in, like, on the ice or whatever. But instead of having 9 legs, they just had one big eye stalk. You know, like crabs have, like, little eye stalks. It just had one big eye stalk. And there were, like, 4 of those. Otherwise, it looked exactly like a crab from the Icier Keep.
And they were all frozen in this ice block before it crashed onto the...
Yeah, like, the ice had started to melt
that-
because it was in the ocean, you know, in this crate. But, like, it was supposed to be a block of ice. In a crate.
And... Did he make, like, some kind of insight or, like, intelligence check? Does he know about this, or does it sound familiar?
Like, have you ever encountered these creatures before, or...
or like heard about it happening. I don't
Crabs
know.
getting mutated, or
Yeah,
sea
sea creatures getting fucked with.
Oh, let me look. Let me see.
Can Gore make
So
a
if it's
check
icy or
too?
keep, I don't know.
Yeah, I think for Aerithar, this would probably be a nature check. For Gore, this would probably be like. I'm assuming Gore, you're trying to think if you've ever encountered this before.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd probably be closer to like a history or an insight check.
I don't think insight. That's a 2.
That sounds like a fucked up crab.
Yeah.
That's a 13.
13. You've heard of mutated animals before. You've heard of two-headed turtles that just kind of happen like that. Or you've heard of like other mutations happening within animals, just kind of like naturally, just genetically. It tends to be more of like a one-off thing. Like there's one every once in a while. It's not a super common thing. So it is highly possible that that mutation could just happen to a crab. For it to happen several times to crabs that are close enough together to all get caught and put into a block is a little bit less likely. It's definitely weird, but it's not something that's so outlandish that you're like, there's no way that's something fucked. It's kind of just like, that's improbable, you know?
Yeah,
You've never heard of
kind of like
a crab with one eye stalk, though, so.
that's I as a person have never heard of a crab with one eye stalk, so I. That's honestly kind of frightening to think about. I don't like that.
I should draw that.
You should.
I think I'd enjoy that. Anyway. Yeah, Odette just kind of.
And mutations are possible, but it's a bit odd that it happened to a large group of them in a block of ice and in a crate. But it does happen.
Yeah.
So,
And I mean, like, stuff washes up on the arches, like, all the time. It's kind of just, like, in the path of a bunch of currents. So it really kind of could have come from anywhere.
I don't know much about the ice here keep, so.
That's what I just assume, because, you know, like, block of ice, weird crabs. But,
Odd sea and snow life and ice is kind of where my knowledge of the keep kind of stops.
yeah.
Unless specific things. But even then, I don't.
Yeah, but that's all I could think that was, like, kind of related to the description you gave me of a ship. And like we said, we don't know how old that ship was either.
Yeah, it seemed pretty old.
I did have a question that I think is, like, kind of, sort of related, but is also slightly a different topic. It's more for you, Aerithar. Who was that? I just...
Sort of related. I think Gore turns to you. Yeah, who the fuck was that?
That was, I recall someone mentioning before that there were Imolith sorcerers out and about, but I thought maybe they meant, like, just independent people or teams. That was the Order Proxy of the Emolith, who is essentially just under the Magnates, so the fourth most powerful sorcerer in the world. Just out and about. It sounded like he was doing an independent study or mission. If he hadn't have said anything, I would have assumed that the Magnates sent him, because the Magnates aren't fans of the gods, but based off of his words, they might not have known he was there. Not really someone that when it came up that Imolith people would be on the ocean, I didn't really think that he would be on the ocean. Not someone that I really expected to see. So.
He kind of glances over to Aldette. So, like, why did he just leave us?
I assume that he just needed... He was done with whatever maybe he came there to do. Also, it's not like I work for the Emolith anymore. It wasn't like he saw me and knew that thought that I was going to... It probably, just me, I don't know about the two of you, but with just me, he knew that I wouldn't, like, go after him. Well, you know, in general. Now there's a problem because those were people we knew, but... To tell you the truth, I honestly don't really know. But I'm glad that he did, because if he had stayed, we all would have been dead.
So, it kind of seemed like the entire thing with him was that he wanted those two gone. It does kind of concern me that he was there for everything prior. I know bits and pieces about the Emolith. I kind of have to. The idea of him working outside of the Magnates is kind of throwing me off.
I'm assuming, based off of his words, that's just what he's doing. I worked under Muldoon. That's DM. That's Keldub's guy, right? Everybody knows that's Keldub's guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He technically works under all three Magnates. He is also the adherent aide to Keldov, so, like, she kind of is his direct boss.
Yeah. I worked under Muldoon. He mostly worked under Magnates still under Keldov. I do not spend at all a significant time around him. I don't really know what his personal work is. Clearly it involves the divine in some form or fashion, I would assume, based off of what happened. A vendetta, or I don't know. he didn't seem aggressive. Well, he's also always just been weird. He's just a strange person. And now I know that there's at least that's definitely true, that he is just, I'm not just being judgmental, he is genuinely weird. That's good to know, but I don't have, even from like a professional standing, I don't know what he would want to do or why he would do that. And of course, obviously, I don't know anything either. But it is very strange. And down there was there was like the quartz material, and just walking and crawling in a tunnel, and the person next to me was him the entire time. Didn't realize it was him. It's really, really unsettling now, looking back on it, that it was. But
that's the part that I'm personally not liking the most. Bar, of course, his actions. I'm not entirely sure what that was down there. I have my theories, some of them scarier than others. But the fact that he was also down there, and he also saw that, is not good, in my experience. Do we think that this is something he won't tell the magnates about? Are we all getting the vibe that maybe, possibly, hopefully, he just doesn't tell anybody about this?
I would like to think, if he's even remotely afraid of the people above him, that I would like to think that he wouldn't say anything, because then they would ask what he was doing out here, if he wasn't supposed to be out here. But the paranoid, pessimistic part of me, it tells me that even if he doesn't tell the magnates, there might, if he has other people he's working with, there might be at least other people that know. Just like the cautious, negative side. But I want to think that he won't at least tell the magnates, but I don't think he was supposed to be out here. But I still think that we should at least act like he will.
Yeah. You can see the longer that you talk, the more, like, the fur on Oldet's shoulders and neck, like, stands up. Like, they're very clearly becoming stressed about this.
Is this...
I think. I don't know how, but he puts on the auto steering.
You kind of lock the wheel in place so that we're just kind of pointed in a general direction.
I think we should probably sit down.
Yeah.
Oldet starts to walk down the stairs, and you see they go into the little, like, captain's quarters navigation room area, and pulls out that one giant map of the entire world, and walks out onto the main part of the deck and just kind of flops it down. It makes a heavy sound, too. You forget that this isn't just paper. This is, like, wallpaper. This is thick stuff. It just, like, flaps down onto the deck, and they just plop down in front of it.
Oldet, is this something you would need to tell? You're from the Arches, correct? Is this something you would need to inform them about? Is there the people that we're going to, I would assume, would need to be informed?
It's kind of a complicated issue. we're kind of all stuck in this together. He already kind of knows parts of this. You also probably don't know all of this. I guess we'll probably figure it out. But I'm from the Arches, but I'm not from the Arches. So in a strange sort of ways, I'm also kind of doing a secondary thing aside from my core things that I'm supposed to be doing. The Arches are kind of dealing with their own thing right now. So I've got some things that I gotta be doing for that, but like the part of what I'm doing with the island that we're going to, that's all me. So
Are you guys going to sit down with them? Or are you just standing
Yeah.
up, just looking over
Yeah.
the railing?
Yeah, I followed them.
You're all kind of just sitting. There goes my camera. Kind of like crisscross applesauce on the deck around this giant map, as Oldet is kind of just like has gotten their journal out and is just kind of, you know when you have like a leather journal and you squeeze it and the pages make that nice little like thing.
Yeah.
They're doing that with it just to like have something to do with their claws. As they sit there and they talk.
I'm not entirely sure where to start.
Start from the beginning.
Okay. And they pull out the jar of leeches and they just slam it down in the middle of the map.
These probably aren't the leeches from where I'm from, but very similar. Gore and I both were not born on the Arches. I feel like that's pretty apparent from the everything about us. But me, I'm technically from the continent of Diremount. Gnolls aren't a part of society. Honestly, actually, 90% of gnolls don't even really have full thought capacity. They can't read, they can't write. They like kind of have like pseudo communities, but everybody's constantly killing each other. It's all about the hunt and about survival. And for as long as gnolls have been around, it's always been that way. Except for where I'm from. I'm from a clan called the Bloodrot. And we lived in the densest part of forest in the northern half of Diremount. And we're kind of the only gnolls on the planet that exist like people do. I was sent away, and that's how I ended up at the Arches. And my upbringing and the like belief system that I was brought up on is surrounded by chaos, so they kind of just handed me off to the Periorc monks, because that's also just chaos. But I think the biggest thing that you should probably know, that when I tell you, I just need you to know that, once I tell you two this stuff, aside from me and the other sentries, you will kind of be the only two people that know this. So I trust both of you, see Exhibit A, but I just need to stress how important this is.
They kind of have their claws out, they look a little deranged, like...
So, you know when you're, like, in history class or whatever, and they talk about, like, the Year of Dominion, and, the Divine Convulsion and everything. Back when the Divine Convulsion was happening and the Year of Dominion was happening, and like way back then when all the planes were all kind of squashed together and they separated the planes and they put like the gates between the planes so all of the planes are separate, they kind of didn't do that correctly. So on the material plane, when the material plane gets injured, wounds open. And these wounds are kind of like gates, either to other realms or into open void. Kind of the area between realms. There are very few on the planet, but they are such concentrated nuggets of reality that they kind of warp everything around them, and they have to be maintained, otherwise the wound breaks and gets bigger. And so at each one of these wounds, an altar is built. I'm from the altar of the Blood Rod. There's a longer name, but we all just call it the altar of the Blood Rod. We are going to the place where the aberrant altar of the Idol Gate is. And from what I understand, something happened and the altar kind of broke. Which is why I need to take this thing there to fix the altar. And what we saw at the bottom of the ocean looked a lot like a wound before they built the altar. Which is why I'm really concerned.
So a wound that large down where we were, that could just spread to the entire planet, essentially.
They tend to start either as like a crack in reality or like a pit. And when they're not maintained, they start to turn into a canyon. I've never seen them get past a canyon. But hypothetically, they could. And the reason that people aren't like told about them and like this isn't like common knowledge is because the sheer amount of power that exists at them in the wrong hands or kind of in anybody's hands, is kind of world-ending. Hypothetically. I don't know for sure, but that's what we're told.
Like the Emolith's hands.
Yeah.
Precisely.
And honestly, even the dead king's hands, that was also a big thing. The reason that I wasn't allowed to stay there was because King Diremake didn't know that the altar was there and was trying to raid our territory and kind of fucked it up, and there were some problems and some effects that followed. So that's why I was sent away. But after I grew up on the Arches and I had my training and stuff like that, I learned more about everything, and I'm kind of one of the last resorts here for this.
But you've got that wrong. We are the last resort. So I'm not letting you do this alone.
I really appreciate that. I do kind of have to tell you that it's gonna be a lot more difficult for you two than it's gonna be for me. I'm from the Blood Rot. You two aren't. I'm immune. You two aren't.
What's going to happen when we get to that island?
That one has a different gate, so it shouldn't be leeching. But if it is, you guys are in danger. It shouldn't be, which is why I was gonna go alone. But this is also part of your work. And it shouldn't be! But I also haven't heard from the person I was talking with for the past several days. And I don't know what that means.
What could happen to us?
Oldet picks up the jar.
Kind of depends on who you are. It's a sickness. It starts either as a mutation like we saw with the doppelganger, or it starts in a certain part of your body. And it depends on the person, on where you're exposed, on how you come into contact with the sickness. For some people, you mutate into something.
Oh?
We lost Gale.
Oh no. Hello?
You guys, like, just completely froze up on me. Sorry. I
Oh.
was... So I didn't know if I was frozen, so I just hung up and joined back in. You guys are good again. Sorry. As soon as Oldet started describing what it was, I lost you. Wait.
Basically, they said it depends on who you are. For some people, you start to mutate, like the doppelganger, and for others, it starts at a certain part of your body. And that depends on where you came in contact with it, or like how you contracted the illness or whatever. But
Okay.
If you're a person that mutates, you kind of just become something else entirely. Like that doppelganger. Something about who you are becomes everything you are. For others, it could start anywhere. And it slowly starts to take over your body. And the reason it's called the blood rot is because when it reaches your blood, it's kind of taken all of you.
There, so once you come in contact with it, you're essentially, when it's in your blood, you're done. Regardless.
I haven't seen a Knoll, someone other than a Knoll, survive once it reaches your blood. It could start in your leg, and it could be in your muscles or in your skin, and it's fine. You can, like... There's ways to get rid of it. Technically. Doesn't always work. But when it reaches your blood, we've found no way to stop it.
I appreciate your concern. Whatever happens when we get there, I just need to see it. My fate is irrelevant. It is something that we cannot control. I am content with whatever outcome may occur.
Same here.
Okay. Last thing, and I think we kind of covered all of it. There have been more cases of the sickness recently than there has been in several years. In honestly quite a while. And I think, because I don't really have a lot of people working on this with me, I think there's a source, like an origin point outside of the gate. I think there's an object or like a soul carrier who's somewhere that's leeching it out. And I need to find where that is. Or who that is. I have to fix this altar first, but I think it's been too frequent to ignore.
So once your business is done here, you wish to go back to Diamond?
I don't know if this other source is on Dire Mount. I've been going through my notes trying to like figure out other things, but I think I'm most focused on this altar first, because if I don't fix this altar, then kind of everything else kind of doesn't matter. And I wanna fix it as fast as possible, but I also know that I have time. But I just want it done with. I just want to know that it's done. I know I have like a couple months at least to get it done before it starts to grow if nobody's taking care of it. But for my peace of mind, you know, but that's probably all about that I have to tell.
While we're there, should we probably tell them about the altar we just saw?
Probably.
Hold that.
Yeah.
Yesterday, during my extensive, observations of the maps and, the markings, and, as you know, I am in possession of an artifact that I don't know if you know this part, actually. I know that Doty and Gore knew an extent of it. The artifact that I am in possession of was set off once. I was under very little was not my area to know exactly where, and when the impact initially happened, I stole it, you know, and I ran. My memory is spotty, and I, you know, was looking at the map last night and trying to remember what I could, and I didn't necessarily remember anything, but he points at where the circle is on the map in the ocean. My mind kept pulling me towards here. I wish that I could elaborate, but I can't. But that, mixed with what you've just told me, has me more concerned.
Yeah, that could be a problem.
I do apologize. I was going to take another look at it this evening. I wasn't trying to, but based off of what you said, I wanted to mention it.
That's where the altar is, right?
If we're talking about the same place. Yeah.
How long ago was it created?
The altar?
Yeah, this one we're going to.
From the history that I know, it's kind of been there. The civilizations or the clans that take care of the altars know about each other, but we aren't really in contact, because it's kind of safer that way. That's why I've never been here. So I don't know, but from my knowledge, there weren't really supposed to be any new ones. I should probably go through my notes and meditate a little bit. See if I can come up with anything that could be helpful. So I'm gonna climb up the mast again.
And they kind of set the jar of leeches down, brush themselves off, grab their journal, and just start climbing up the mast. Leaving you two in front of the map below.
He's still staring right at the circle. He also has not made eye contact with Ulda, since that came up, and he's still kind of staring, kind of only looking up when they left, and stares back down.
What you thinking, Arathar?
I am surprised and not surprised how connected everything is.
Yeah, I'm kind of sick of it.
I also, I feel compelled, before we arrive at the temple or after, I feel compelled to send some sort of message to Doty's father or to Jin. I wouldn't really know where to start. Obviously, not as urgent, but another task.
Yeah.
I am glad that you're alright. I know you seem to be frustrated and angry, and that is understandable. But it is good that he left when he did. And that no one else. That we are all safe. But if you wouldn't have been able to do much more to him, none of us would have been able to.
Yeah. And he stands up and kind of turns his back to Arathar. Never strong enough. And he walks back to the wheel.
Yeah. You walk back up. The wind is still pretty strong, and you correct course slightly, having been drifting in the same direction. You can see Oldet up above the mast, sitting kind of on top of the mast where it kind of levels off, clearly meditating. Surprisingly still, despite the wind that is kind of fluffing up all of their fur. They're still for a pretty long time, but you can still see them up there. Is there anything that you two are doing during this day while you're sailing?
I'll probably make a perception check.
Mm-hmm.
He'll probably stay more towards the back. Kind of keeping an eye out and everything. He will not journal. And write down that confidential information that Oldet just told him. It's just kind of sitting back, keeping an eye out and mulling over everything, looking over to Gore and Oldet every once in a while.
Okay. Make a perception check.
Seventeen. Yep.
17. Okay. You keep an eye out on the water, in the wind, everything, as the hours start to pass. It's still a little baffling how out in the middle of the ocean you are. The water is so blue. It's such a dark blue. Looking down into it, it's clear and you can see for what you assume is probably miles. But it just disappears into blue underneath the ship. You keep an eye out for anything that might resemble land as you're searching. And you see areas where the water starts to get like a little bit lighter, like maybe it's not just open emptiness beneath the waves, but nothing that fully turns into an island just yet. The wind still seems to be on your side, for the most part. And every once in a while you'll see like one bird in the sky or something, and you think about how far out from land that bird is, and it doesn't feel natural, but you know that it is. There are birds that come out this far. You think that you've heard of them, but the idea of a creature surviving out here in this near wasteland from your perspective is hard to wrap your head around. There's a lot to think about and not a lot to look at, but the hours start to tick by. Gore, is there anything that you're doing while you're steering the boat?
I think every once in a while he'll lock the steering wheel, and like for the first time in a few days he will start to heavily train again.
Mm-hmm. Doing your push-ups, your sit-ups.
Yup.
Like, what is it, Taibo?
Yeah.
But you start to go through your routine. Also watching just miles and miles of water go by that all looks basically the same, but out here, as far as you are out on the ocean, it's kind of to be expected. You do start to wonder if you've been out this far. You've been on the ocean a lot. And you've been out into parts of the ocean that most people probably haven't been. Sometimes you gotta lay low for a while, and it's best to do that out in parts of the ocean where you're not gonna be found. But you are thinking about the direction that you're headed on the ocean. Yoon is a strange planet in the fact that on the backside, between the continents that kind of surround it, there is just this one giant open spot of just water. And you're kind of, the trajectory that you're taking, you'll stop before you get there, but you're kind of just sailing out towards the middle. There's a part of you that is way far at the back of your head by now because you're thinking of so many other things that does find that a little exciting. The ocean is so outside of everything else that the idea of getting out to be in the middle of the ocean, as far away from land as any person could possibly be, is terrifying, but also a little interesting. But all of those thoughts tend to be swamped over by everything else that you're thinking about. But I would like you to make a wisdom check for me.
Oh, wisdom. Very good. 0. That's a 19.
19. Just double checking something. God, the screen's so bright. Oh my god. Ugh. Yeah. As you're standing out there, and you're looking out in the direction that your ship is sailing, the direction that you're navigating Stan, and you're thinking of everything that you could possibly be thinking about, shoulders starting to cool off in the wind from the sweat that had been kind of accumulating from the 14,000 push-ups you just did. It's strange. It's not that single emotion that rolls over you like normal. Normally it's like as if rolling down the back of your head, kind of coming into your consciousness. A emotion. And sometimes it will be followed by another emotion. Or a vague idea of a thought. But this time, what rolls over you can't really be described with one word. It's more an anticipation because you're heading in the right direction.
Okay.
The more you dwell on it, the more that somehow feels like not a metaphor.
Okay.
It all kind of doesn't make sense, and after that moment passes of it rolling over you, and after that sensation is gone, you're kind of stuck trying to put the pieces back together, like, did I get that right? Did I understand that? Was that interpreted the way that I was supposed to? You know those, like, really big, complex emotions that don't have words for them except for in German, where it's like one really, really long word to describe a very complex emotion?
Yeah.
It's like you're trying to describe one of those to yourself after it passes.
Okay.
But that's what you get from it. Anticipation from the fact that you're going in the right direction. It's as close as you get.
Okay.
And you go back to steering the ship. Anything else you're doing up there?
That's probably it.
Alright. Well, Gail's not here, so could you give me a roll for the day?
Yes. 17.
17. Okay. Let me pull up my notes. Alright. Okay. Oh, maybe.
Sorry.
Fuck you. Fuck you. Yeah. Damn. Can't believe I just...
It
Wow.
pissed so bad. I'm so sorry.
You're good. We just went
I
through
wanted
what...
to get. Oh, you're good. I wanted to get what Gore's wisdom check was before I went and pissed.
Yeah. Basically, it was just me describing that more. And then he rolled for the day, and he rolled a 17. I don't know if that's important to you.
Oh yeah.
You all kind of go about your business. Oldet meditates and journals for a rather long time. And by the time it starts to reach into the afternoon, kind of probably around it being 2 p.m., they finally start to crawl down from the mast. And they disappear below the boat. And when they come back up, they bring up some of that like jerky and apparently some fruit that they had down there, they had brought or had found down there. It's another one of those things where you're like, you're not entirely sure where it came from, but it is what it is. They cast a line from like a makeshift fishing pole off the side of the deck, but they sit down and start to nibble on the food that they had rations wise. They set some aside for either of you if you want to walk by and grab some. But the day itself remains pretty uneventful. There's a part about towards the afternoon when Oldet starts to climb down where the wind picks up like really, really strong. And the waves get really choppy, these huge waves that you're kind of cresting over and crashing over, but it never quite turns into a storm. It's not raining, and the clouds aren't becoming dark above you, but just the wind is making everything just churn up. Erithar, you do start to get a little sick to your stomach at a certain point because the boat is crashing over a wave and jumping back down, and the entire thing is shaking. But eventually it slows down again as it starts to get towards the evening. Oldet seems to have gone about their business with their journal and everything, put away the food again, though they'll have to get it out later. They do manage to catch a fish off the side of the boat. Since it is a open water fish, it is rather large, so they spend the rest of the afternoon gutting and cleaning the fish for dinner. But other than that, your evening, it turns into evening what feels like almost kind of quickly. Like the day passes as you're kind of lost in thought. You guys doing anything as it starts to get into the evening?
I think
Nothing special.
Erithar will eventually kind of walk over and snag like a fruit from where Oldet has left some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I think after the a bout of seasickness, and as it's starting to get late, he's probably just gonna silently excuse himself and go down into the cabin.
Mm-hmm. You head down below the boat, kind of taking a piece of fruit with you. It's like a whole mango. It's like you're not sure where this came from, but there's just a whole mango that you kind of just snag and take with you to eat below deck, now that the waves have calmed down some. Gore, you stay up top, continuing to steer the boat, trying to get kind of, I assume, as far as possible before it becomes night.
Yeah.
You're up there for a while. Old Ed at a certain point, like, just kind of sighs and brings the food up to you. And it's just kind of standing there with you, kind of watching the water and feeling the wind below the mast. And just kind of leaning on the railing near you and just staring.
Hold that. Oh.
Sorry, I was just making fun of the music stopping.
He kind of glances to the cabin doors. I'm not trying to be nosy. But if I asked him, he might get upset. Dude, what is an empiric sorcerer?
I honestly don't really know a lot about, like, the ranks of sorcerers. But, like, though it's not... It's not one that I've heard before. Like, obviously I've heard Magnate. And kind of like... By process of elimination, I've heard of Order Proxy. And I've heard, like, the different little terms for, like, you know, like, the sorcerers, they get sent out to different places to, like, try to, like, it's almost like a census taker. Like, you go out and you, like, see, like, what people's opinions are on the Imolith or whatever.
Yeah.
Or, like, the sorcerers that are sent out for, like, specific jobs because, like, the Imolith, like... I've been a couple places that are, like, allies with the Imolith, and, like, a sorcerer gets sent out to, like, do a specific thing to, like, help the city or whatever. Like, I've heard of those.
Now I'm gonna have to ask him.
Yeah. Sorcerers are so fucking weird.
Yeah, and they're stupid. You just touched me and... Oh, so stupid. They didn't fight fair.
Yeah, he was freaky.
Yeah. We can find out a way to get his magic away from him. I'm gonna beat the shit out of him.
Yeah, that's fair.
And not because he's freaky.
That wasn't an elf, right?
I don't know what that was.
Like...
Yeah, he was real ugly. I'm not gonna lie. And I've seen some ugly motherfuckers. And he has to be like, if not number 1, number 2.
He kind of looks like a mannequin.
I think you're onto something.
Right? I don't like that he bleeds out of his eyes. What the fuck is up with that?
Yeah, that was also not cool.
I think he should get that checked out.
Yeah. At that point, like, you probably need some help.
Yeah. I don't really.
Look,
Oh yeah. Oldit's
go.
just like, I don't really know what to make of all that.
yeah, I don't really fuck with the MLS.
I don't really know why people do. Like, I guess the power.
Yeah. Yeah, well, like, what did that one guy say that one time? With great power comes great responsibility. I can't remember who said that, but
The tan bag?
that does sound like something Tambag would have said.
The old motherfucker.
You know what? I had another one of those dreams last night where I cough up seawater.
Yeah, you should also probably get that checked out.
I think it's okay. But in the dream, I'm pretty sure that I was told windows are closing / wounds bleeding out life, which kind of lines up with what you were saying.
It kind of does.
Which is really weird that this serpent thing knows what's going on too.
There's so many fucking factors with this shit.
Yeah. I don't want to deal with it anymore, but I guess we have to. After it's all over, we can go home.
You look over as you say that, and you watch Oldet kind of close their eyes and kind of like
What was that for?
You haven't been home in a really long time.
Well, yeah.
A lot's happened.
Yeah, I feel like you keep telling me that.
Fuck it, I'll be frank with you. You left, and there was kind of no one left. At least at our temple, right? Everybody else had kind of been sent off, or they had given up on being a monk of Periork, especially because, like, who cares about Periork anymore? And so it was kind of just me, and I'm kind of not the first choice. Right? So it was Tanbag and me, and we were hanging out. We were doing all the Periork stuff, and it was fine. We were doing it. It was all going okay. But there's been shit happening with the other gods too. And like I said, I'm trying to be who I'm supposed to be for Periork, and I'm trying to, stop all this other shit. I'm not gonna lie, I have a lot on my fucking plate. There was that storm at the Arches. And there's all the shit that's happening with the fucking clerics. And every once in a while, I get called back to the Arches, specifically, because I'm the only one that knows something really specific. And I know that you're doing your own thing. And I know that you're kind of like put all that back for a while. I haven't really been able to tell if you want anything to do with home or not. But people got sick there too.
Sick?
Yeah.
Like where we're going sick?
Yeah.
Is there an altar there?
No. That's why it's so fucking weird. And I'm not supposed to tell you this. Like, I promised her that I wouldn't tell you this. But I'm gonna. Cause I don't know what to fucking do anymore. But she made it. She lost part of herself because of what happened. Not with you, but with... Look, she got sick too.
She's okay, right?
Yeah, because I fucking fixed it. Because that's what I always do back there. I always go back and I always fix it. I fixed that, I'm gonna fix this, I'm gonna fix everything. Look, she made it, okay? She did it. And I'm not supposed to tell you. The Abbotts don't want me to tell you. She told me not to tell you. I don't even think that you wanted me to tell you. But I'm telling you. I don't know what to really do anymore. But I'm gonna fucking fix this. I'm gonna do it. But if you want to go back after this, then we gotta fucking fix it. It's all fucking connected, man. I'm going crazy.
I'm sorry.
I'm gonna fucking
Sorry
fix
that I
it.
put so much on you.
Well, I'm sorry that I couldn't fix shit with you. I'm gonna fix it.
We'll fix it, old that. After it's all fixed, I'll come back.
Tan bag. He talks about you a lot.
Yeah, I miss the old fart.
God, he's ancient.
We're really old that. And he reaches out an arm. I'll even shake on it. I'll die with Periork if I have to.
They grab your arm.
At this point, I think we both will.
Thought I could escape her, but
She's fucking
Can't run away
everywhere,
from
man.
home.
Everywhere. All the time.
yeah.
And they stand up from the railing.
Tell me about it.
I'm gonna go cook that fucking fish.
Count me in. And he's gonna lock the wheel.
You both head down. Oldette starts to set up a little thing to start to cook the fish and not burn the boat down. It takes a little bit to set up, but you eventually get it going. And before long, there's a cooked fish. You do most of the cooking in silence, both you and Oldette just kind of standing there watching the fish cook. But it's a pretty big fish. Enough to
Like
feed.
when you haven't eaten all day and you're waiting for the water to boil for your ramen.
Yeah. But
Someone put that on Facebook.
Arithar, at a certain point, you can smell something cooking. But you also hear Earth 2, what sounds like trip and fall down the stairs. And land. And then you hear what you think is a rat scurry away, and then Earth 2 jump up and start running down the hall. There's a really
Wow, that's
bad
great.
rat problem here. Like, if he keeps finding rats, this is not a big boat.
Where did it fucking come from?
We actually need an altar on the boat because we've opened up a portal to the rat realm.
It's just the rat dimension. They're just pouring out. You know that scene in Star Trek where he opens up the thing and all the tribbles fall out? It's just that, but with
Yeah.
rats.
Earth is fighting World War III in the walls against rats. And we're acting like there's nothing happening.
You're laughing. Earth 2 is fighting the rat war, and you're laughing.
When he dies, we're screwed.
Oh god, it's
Jesus Christ.
just overtaken by a wave of rats. Alright. Do we want to stop with the rat war for a break, and then we'll come back and pick up with watches?
Yes.
I'd be down.
with that.
Alright, let's go to break, because I want something to drink, because I love Oldette, but gee, I know I chose that voice. I know I did that, but, man.
That is Oldette's voice.
Yeah.
Like, that is
It's
as
impressive.
Oldette as they can get.
Yeah. Alright, we'll be right back. Hello. We are back. So, everybody eats dinner, fish, and other things. And by this point, it's already evening. It's already kind of... The sun has started to set. I'm turning down the music just slightly, actually. Just a little bit. There we go. Just because it was a little loud in my ear. There you go. Everybody kind of starts to settle in. The sun, by this point, is at the smallest point of being still above the horizon. That small sliver of orange lighting up the bit of the night sky. The rest of it into dark purples and blues, into black above you where the stars are starting to shine through. The wind has settled slightly. Still enough that you can still feel it on the top of the boat. You can hear it on the water still, but no waves are continuously rocking. The day of travel so far has actually been pretty easy. You know from what Oldet had said that you probably only have, like, another most of a day until you're there, which is still odd to you as you look around and see just absolutely nothing around you. The idea of just stumbling upon such a apparently big island is kind of hard to imagine currently. But the night has come, and you're all settling down for the evening. Is there anything you guys are doing before it's, like, officially night and time to go to sleep?
I think he's staying tucked away. Uh-oh.
Did Arathar come up for dinner?
No, he did not. He probably poked his head out, but he did not, like, fully come out.
Okay. We'll save that one for another time.
Anything you're doing, Gore?
Probably not.
Oldet, probably after dinner, starts to get their stuff together to, like, make their bed up on top of the deck so they can look at the stars like they normally do. And they kind of pick up the incense burner again and kind of set it off to the side and turn back and kind of call out to you across the deck.
I assume we'll, like, fuck around with this in the morning while we have a little bit of time to, like, figure what the fuck this thing is out, but, I'm tired.
You're good to go to sleep. I'll take first watch.
Aight.
And they start to settle in for the evening. So, Arathar, are you also staying up for first watch, or are you going to bed?
He actually might come out, to figure out the watches. So when it's, like, obviously he doesn't write, like, the confidential information in his journal, but he's probably journaling about other things, and, probably writes about, 15 different messages he could send, before shutting, the book and, like, organizing his bag. And when it gets into the evening, he'll probably walk out. Did you want me to take first watch since I took it yesterday, or are we doing 2 and 1? We have an odd number.
Yeah, I'll take first watch. You can get some rest.
Yeah. So he'll go back down.
Okay. Yep, you settle back in for the night. Gore, if I could get a perception check from you.
Perception. 18.
Hey, hell yeah. Where are you? Just because I'm curious, and I'm a visual person. Where are you settled about on the boat to keep your watch?
He'd probably be on like that top wheel area
Okay.
because he's got like height, and it's not like the mast height, but he doesn't need to go up there.
There's a little bit of vantage point type ish. Yeah, you settle up there, kind of walking about. I assume probably doing just like a little bit more training while you have the opportunity, and keeping an eye out. It's still a little windy, not super windy. It's like the normal amount of windy that you're used to traveling on the ocean. It's one of those things that you get used to when you're a sailor or a pirate. It's just kind of the constant wind. The idea of people having like chapped skin from the wind is a very real concept that happened to a lot of your crew members as well. The sun and the wind and the salt from the ocean can be kind of brutal at times. But that cool breeze is also refreshing. You keep an eye out for a while. There's not a whole lot to see. You look over every once in a while, you can see where Uldet, for a little bit, had kind of just sat and meditated before lying down and just staring up at the stars. And at a certain point, you can definitely tell they fell asleep because now they're all just kind of like sprawled out and curled up on their little like mattress pad they set out. And it's just really quiet. Again, there's just more time to think. There's so much time to think right now. It's a little infuriating. But you keep watch. Do a couple push-ups. Kind of do some pull-ups off the side of the railing. Keep some more watch out. Think about a couple things. It isn't until like really deep into your watch, not close to the end of it, but like probably like midway through, that you don't notice anything upsetting, but more so just like a little intriguing. You had heard from other people who spent time out on the ocean that there were certain parts of the world that when you sailed through them, the horizon would have just like an interesting sort of waver to it. Not that strange warbling color mess that was happening before you guys got sucked down to the bottom of the ocean. None of that strange sort of mirage type colors, but just where you assume maybe the wind and the light and the heat kind of created this little warbling effect on the horizon. You've heard in places that are like more innately magic or whatever that warbling is stronger. Or that legend about the flash of green that happens when the sun sets or rises. You've heard all those things before, but as you're kind of keeping a watch out, you notice that small bit of warbling, almost like the heat rays on hot pavement, just on the horizon. You wonder if it's more noticeable because of how close you are to where you're supposed to be going. It's just interesting. You think maybe with the cooling off of the weather and the fact that you're getting further into like autumn and winter, that maybe there might be a bit of fog forming out on the water, but it's that overall your watch just has that weird sort of both peaceful and kind of what's the word? Oh, I just lost it. Um,
Same.
existential. There we go. That kind of just, it's both peaceful, but it's also very existential because you're out on the ocean, you're the only one awake, and there's fog and warbling on the horizon, and it's just everything. But other than that, doesn't seem to have anything happen. So, if there's anything you'd like to do on your watch, you may do so. If not, you can wake up your companions.
Yeah, he'll probably just train, write in his journal.
Mm-hmm.
Probably wake up Odette first.
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of on the way.
You go over and
You'll
kind
wake
of
up here.
nudge them awake, and their fur is all in different directions. But they start to get up and put their things away. Try to be awake.
Then he makes his way down to Arathar. Kind of nudges him on the shoulder a little bit.
He wakes up a bit slower, probably, than usually. Kind of looks up eventually and nods at you. And gets out to join Odette.
And Gore go sleep.
Okay. Gore, you go down.
Honk.
Honkshu. Me, 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 me. You go down and find your cot, and settle in for the night, setting all your stuff off to the side. Arathar, you go up and meet where Odette is. Odette is double-checking all the ropes and everything, sails tied down, make sure everything's where it should be for the night. Nothing came loose. But they're also just kind of walking around the boat, taking everything in. So if you'd like to make a perception check for me.
Yes. Well. 13.
13.
And what he does is he just goes up to the very front of the boat. Maybe not the very front, but like towards that area. He kind of stands out there and looks. His like perception check is him looking around, but after all, he just kind of looks forward. Just kind of taking in that vast emptiness, but also not. That seems to be never ending. But that was a 13.
13. Alright. Yeah. It's one of those things where it's like, I keep repeating it because you keep experiencing it, of just the fact that there's everything out here. There's so much water, there's so much below you. There's the sky and the stars and everything. It's so full of everything. And yet to you, as a person out here in the middle of the ocean, there's just nothing. But you stand watch. Odette, at a certain point, you can hear, it seems to be like doing a couple things, going through their stuff. You think they probably get bored at a certain point. They also start doing pull-ups off of some of the railings and stuff like that. Just kind of keeping themselves awake. Gore.
Oh my god.
You fall asleep just kind of as you normally would. Nothing really stands out to you as you fall asleep, except for the thought in the back of your head of like, here we go. Here we go again. And you fall into slumber. Everything falling away, the sensations, vision, sound, all of it. Back into that deep sleep as you normally are. And then becoming aware of the darkness. It's starting to become habit. But this time, your eyes don't open. You don't see the water, feel the pressure in your ears. You just exist in that dark space. Honestly, for what feels like forever. And the only thing that really interrupts it at any point is just that rolling feeling of closer. The urge forward, closer. Almost growing to be impatient. Closer. It interrupts every once in a while. But the darkness continues, and otherwise your sleep goes unaffected. You can't quite remember if you fall back into a normal slumber without those ever-present interruptions and the knowledge that you are sleeping, but it just keeps happening. Erithar, you continue to keep watch. Eventually the sky starts to get a little bit lighter, those really early morning hours where it's not pitch black outside, but the sky is still kind of like almost as if it's a lighter black. Almost starting to have that purple tint to it, but still being before the sun rises. It's a perfect moment to see all of the stars. You don't really notice anything in particular. It's just the fact that they're there. And all of this talk of other planes, and of everything that's happening here on this planet, and just the vastness of everything around you, it's at a certain point you just notice all of the stars. It's kind of there, ever-present, as if the water seems to be ever-present, but just something you notice. The rest of your watch goes by uneventfully, and eventually the sun starts to rise, lighting up the sky into lighter shades of purple, eventually streaming with orange and yellow until the sun has officially hit the horizon and is bringing back the morning again. So, if you would like to wake up your companion, and if my camera would like to focus at all, that would be great.
It doesn't like you.
It doesn't. I don't know what the deal is.
It's been happening since we got back, I think, right? Like, it's just been doing it more and more.
Yeah, I think it's been doing it a lot recently, but it was doing it before, too. So, I don't know. It just doesn't
It has the data
like
now.
me. Oh, there we go. Got it. But if you would like to go about your morning.
Yeah. I think when the kind of purple starts to turn to like orange, when he kind of pulls away and turns and goes back down. Entire night, just for Old Dad, if Old Dad was just for Old Dad's note, entire night, no journaling, nothing like that, just standing there and staring straight ahead.
Yeah.
But he'll go down, kind of shake gently, obviously not. Oh my God! There's a fucking fire.
Bouncing on the bed. Doom, doom, doom.
Emmett takes his shoulder, Mr. Gore.
Does he vomit up seawater?
No, but you like cough really hard.
Okay. Yep. Sorry, I thought there was something in my throat.
I expected a deluge to just come
Me
out
too.
onto the deck.
But today, I guess we're good.
I'm sure you're relieved. Kind of backs away and gives him his space and kind of does the same thing as before, kind of not touching anything too much, but kind of looking to make sure everything is where he thinks it's supposed to be.
Mhm.
So he feels like he's doing something.
Yeah. Gore, I'm assuming you come back up top.
Yeah.
The morning seems to be much clearer this time. Those giant clouds that had been out from the remnants of the storm seem to have dissipated. There is a bit of like low-hanging fog on the water, just a bit, that'll probably burn off as the day gets going. But other than that, it's a clear morning. The sun is rising quickly. Oldet seems to be going about their business, checking all the ropes and everything, making sure everything's where it needs to be. And as you both start to get settled in, you see that they pull out the big map again and roll it out, and just kind of stand above it, like checking where everything is, and then like kind of like looking to see where the sun is, and like the last little bits of like really bright stars that you can see in the sky before they completely disappear. They're just like double checking your position. The box full of tools, the cartographer's tools, are sitting off to the side, like in the doorway, and they kind of like look over to them every once in a while, and then look back at the map, like they're debating on if they even want to use them. But that's what they're doing. Is there anything you two are doing as you get started on your morning?
I think for Aerithar, it's a similar thing as before. Is he's just once he's done with that, he'll do he'll look out. So obviously, like perception. I'll make a perception check.
Yeah.
But kind of stands on the side. Kind of eyeing Oldet, rolling out the map and everything, and also go every once in a while. But yeah. Do you want me to go ahead and make that?
Yeah.
Or do you want me to roll for the day? Actually?
Yeah. Roll for the day and make a perception check for me.
Okay, cool. Since Tyler did it last time.
Yes.
You're hogging all the
perception.
rolls.
What did you say? I didn't hear you.
I said, you're hogging all the rolls.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry. You can make a perception check too, Tyler.
Nah, he doesn't care.
That makes sense.
I think he does, but...
17 for the perception check. And that'd be a natural 1 for the day.
Interesting. Cool.
Yeah. So. Wait, is that a natural 1 or a 7? I think it's a 7 actually. Oh my god, it's a 7.
Interesting.
It's a 7. It's a 7. They're like, the 1 is like this, and the 7 is like that. There's barely a top.
Oh yeah.
But there's a difference. There's a difference. Yeah, I was just ready to take it. I was like, you know what? 7 is better.
All right. Good to know. Check my notes.
Watch the 7 be worse than the natural 1.
Yeah, that would make sense.
All right. Well, Gore, are you doing anything?
I'll make a perception check too, why not? That's a 7.
Yeah. Lots of 7s in numbers today, because we had a 17, a 7, a 7. I think we had another 17. Anyway.
Yeah, earlier. Yeah.
Yep. You settle into your posts. Aerithar off to the side, kind of leaning on the rails, taking a gander at everything. You expect the boat to start moving pretty quickly once Oldet lowers the sails and everything. As the wind, again, is still pretty present. It actually seems to pick up partially a couple hours into the morning. Oldet goes about their business of stretching and doing a little bit of their own type of training. It seems to be less body weight intensive and more like jumping around the sails, nimble type shit. But they go about what they're doing. At a certain point, they do get the incense burner out from where they had put it away and just kind of set it in the middle of the deck for in a bit. But as it gets into like the normal hours of the morning, where you expect that fog to burn off, it doesn't. Instead, that fog seems to get a little bit stronger, a little bit thicker. Not completely obscuring all of your vision, but enough that it's definitely noticeable. The chill in the air is back. It hadn't gotten, like, hot recently, but it had gotten warmer in the direct rays of the sun. But the chill from the air and the fog around you seems to be overtaking that a little bit. It's a little chilly out. Not freezing, but a little warm. You are going more southward as you go, but not so severely that you're getting to Pyrsana territory. You're not getting to where it's pretty warm all the time. Now, there's still a bit of chill in the air, but your morning goes by, aside from the fog, pretty unedited. After a while, the fog is pretty dense ahead of you. It's pretty dense, and Oldet goes back and checks on the map again, and eventually does cave and get out the cartographer's tools and check your position again. As they do so, Gore, they kind of tell you where to navigate the boat, and call out at a certain point that, like, kind of just guessing the direction that you guys are going in by this point, because, again, they've never been there, but this seems to be the correct direction. You continue on. It gets to a certain point in the day where there's kind of nothing else to do. You're just sailing in a distinct direction. Arathar, it gets harder to see out around the boat because of the fog. The chill is slightly nice, in a way. Kind of has that seafaring quality that you hear about in stories. But other than that, there's kind of nothing to do. After it gets to be about midday, Oldet, clearly bored, starts to walk back up the way up to you, Gore.
I'm gonna start fucking around with the incense thing. If you want to join me. From what I can tell with a map, it's kind of just a straight shot for right now, but we might have to correct it every once in a while. So,
Okay. He stops the wheel and then follows them.
Mm-hmm.
Keep doing this like I'm putting it in neutral.
There's actually a gear shift. Sorry.
The gear shift built into the ship.
Yeah.
I think not immediately, but after a few minutes, Arathar would probably trail behind Gore and just kind of be nosy and look at what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. Oldet kind of just, like, is holding, like, kind of picks the thing up by a chain. So basically, to describe it to you, it's... Wow, my camera. Great, love this. Maybe. Well, you're just gonna have to use my blurry hands. It's about this big at, like, the bottom part of it, and then it's got a loop of, like, a pretty long chain. Like, if you held the chain, like, out, it would swing about, like, knee to shin length.
Oof.
And it's actually a pretty well-made chain, and the actual construction of the thing looks to be pretty nice. You can tell from the smell of it, and also from the way that it was down in the caves, and also just by, like, kind of vaguely looking at it, Gore more so than Arathar, you can tell that this is an incense burner, like a censer of sorts. It's kind of octagonal shaped in the middle with a pointed, like almost like roof to it, and a pointed bottom with a like really like intricate like metal carving bottom that comes down to a point with like a circle on the bottom. Very like both very ornate in shape, but also pretty simple in type of metal. It seems to just be like some sort of, not probably silver, but silver tinted metal. You know what I mean? Oldet kind of holds it by the chain, part of the chain hanging off their arm, because they almost seem hesitant to touch it, since the night before when they and Gore had touched it, it had started billowing smoke for a moment. So they seem hesitant to kind of touch it, but they're sort of looking it over with their hands. They kind of turn it, and they turn back to see where Gore, you're kind of just standing over watching it, and then Arithar kind of off to the side looking over. They're just kind of, and they at that point kind of like hold it out to the two of you to take a look at. So either of you want to take a gander at this thing, you can.
Or we'll take a gander.
Mm-hmm. Just one more time. I'm gonna try one more time. No. Would you like to make a investigation check, or is there some other sort of check that you're hoping to make for this?
I can't come up with anything. I'll just take the -2.
Alright.
I was gonna say maybe religion, but it's the same modifier.
Yeah. He didn't pay attention in class.
Yeah.
He's valid.
That's a 7.
Yeah.
Again.
Lots of 7s, man. Hold on.
9 minus 2.
Yep. You kind of look over it, and you notice the same thing that you had before. Honestly, I'd say with your experience and your history, even with the 7, you'd know at least that this is some sort of like what's considered a censer. Like, this is something that you would see in a temple. Although you've never seen one like this before. You've seen the other temples and stuff at on the arches. You've seen some of the things that they've got going on. The Periorc temples tend to be less flouncy than some of the other temples, so you've never had like an incense burner for Periorc that wasn't just a thing that held a stick. But you've seen these before. You've seen specifically the paladins and the monks for Ihalal and the Ravenall clerics, and like the 1 or 2 monks that exist for Ravenall. You've seen them before hang these up or walk through the bridges before, kind of swinging and carrying these censers. But this one doesn't look at all like those do. Honestly, this one's got some weird, like, looking engraving on it, but you don't really pay much attention to that at all. You just know that this is some weird sort of possibly religious thing. You're not entirely sure. You kind of look over it and stand back, and all that's like kind of turns to you, Arithar.
Do you want to take a look at it?
Yes, I can. Yes. I forget when the smoke bellowing out, did that happen while he was up there?
I don't think so.
Okay, he was already going.
Oh no.
He's probably gonna pull his gloves on. Kinda hold on, I'll make the roll. Okay, make an investigation check. See, that's fine. This God, what is the alphabet? 25. as he leans over with the gloves on and does go to kind of touch it and look at the and kind of look at everything because he doesn't know.
Just for my knowledge, how does he grab it?
Is Odette like holding it? Odette's holding it by the chain, right?
Yeah, like holding it up in front of him like this.
Yeah. He probably doesn't go like yank it. He probably goes to like just kind of gently kind of I almost said finger. You know when like the museum guys are like
Yeah, here, hold on.
Like the
hold
way
on.
Like
I'm sending an image into our group chat to give you an idea. This is not the same. This is not what this one looks like. Imagine this, but the center is like an octagon instead of this. Just to give you an idea of what's hanging in front of your face.
Okay, sorry.
I know you're good. I just realized that this is probably a lot more informative.
Oh, yeah, okay, because you said the size.
The image of one of those is burned into my brain.
Yeah, it's like this tall, and then it's got the chain off the top of it.
I heard it was the chain link that I was kind of unsure of the size of it, actually. I think he just grabs it by the bottom, then.
The bottom, okay.
Yeah.
You kind of grab it and tilt it towards you. As you do so, both Gore and Odette kind of like like shift a little bit, like expecting something to happen. And as you do, you get a good look at it. As you pull it closer, you can see with that roll that most of the construction of it is nice. It's very nice. It's very well put together. But it's also very simple. The metal of it is very simple. The bottom and the top of it, though it's got this intricate shape, is just solid metal. But this section in the middle seems to be hollow. And the engraving on this kind of octagonal section around these holes where you assume the incense is supposed to burn out of is surprisingly intricate. All of these strange symbols run across the outside of it, just in this middle section, this hollow section. And you really start to look into it for a second. And you kind of blink your eyes a couple times to like really look at it as you start to not recognize any of the symbols on it. At first you start to look over it for like what you know is iconography of like the deities. You're not super familiar with the deities, but the icons, the symbols of the deities are relatively well known, and you can pick them out when you see them for the most part. And as you look over this thing, not a religious symbol on this thing, actually. Not a single religious symbol that you can recognize is on the outside of this, what you assume to be a ritual censer. And so you start to think maybe it's a language, and you start to look at it, trying to flip through your head of all the languages that you've seen before, even if you don't know them. And still none of it's really sticking. And it's when you start to think about maybe that it's like sigils, like magic or something like that, you realize that every time you've blinked your eyes or looked away from it for a second, when you look back, it's like your eyes don't see the same symbols. As if like you're looking at a different part of the censer. You kind of look at it again, and you're not looking at the same thing. Like, you know when you have like a really big pattern on a wall or whatever, and you look at part of it, and you look away, and when you look back, you have a hard time finding that part of it within the pattern? It's like that, but you cannot find the same part of the pattern. It's like it's gone. Every time you look at it...
It's like it's different?
It's different.
Different every time? Yeah.
And it doesn't... The sigils don't make any sense if they are sigils, if it's a language, if it's a magic system. None of it makes any sense. And every time you look at it, even if so much as blink, you completely lose your place. You kind of, where you're gripping it from the bottom, you start to turn it slightly, trying to see if you can find that place. Maybe it just rotated in the split second that you blinked. And as you do so, your hand kind of moves slightly from where you're gripping it around the bottom in this small kind of pointed area, and your fingers kind of turn as you turn this thing over in your hand. And suddenly smoke begins to billow out from it. This strange iridescent white smoke begins to billow out from it suddenly, as if bouts of it were being thrust out from the middle. Way more than would come out of an incense burner.
I do think he lets go, immediately. Oh shit! As it starts just skewing.
As it starts to roll out, you drop it and it swings slightly, the smoke casting all over the place. As the smoke begins to rise up slightly and starts to disperse out around you, almost starting to connect into the fog on the outsides of the ship as it disperses, you all kind of, without choice, get a little sniff of it, and the smell is strange. You know that, caustic smell of, chemicals that almost, burns the inside of your nostrils? Or, how... Is it car coolant that has that, strangely sweet smell to it? That, chemical, burning smell, but also has that bit of sweetness to it?
It's after you get a car wash?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what that is, yeah.
It's that smell. Strange and artificial and totally not what you would expect from incense at all, as it kind of wiggles its way up into your sinuses. If I could also get everyone
there it is.
To make a... Oh, no. Actually, hold on. Let me make sure I'm getting the right one. Hello? Yeah, a wisdom saving throw for me.
Oh, that's fun.
An 18.
Using my new dice.
13.
That's cocked.
Hawk.
Oh, okay, that's alright.
Cock 2.
What was... It was... I heard 13 something. 13.
18.
18. Okay, that's a 17 or something. 17. Wait. 18. Yeah, okay. As the smell starts to billow out for a second, and it wiggles its way up into your sinuses, you all kind of feel lightheaded. Almost heady, you've inhaled something too deeply. You've sucked on a balloon full of helium and you get that lightheaded feeling for a second. That it kind of makes you shake your head and blink really hard to kind of get your bearings. But the smoke dissipates and you're all kind of just standing there for a second. Oldet kind of shakes their fur out a little bit.
Yeah, it seems to do that.
Oh, apologies for that. I was not... Fascinating. He just kind of looks, not touching it at all. This time looks at it again, kind of takes a couple new looks at the rearranging symbols, language, cipher, whatever. The inscriptions, it's fascinating. This device, what is it? What did you call it again? You said something
Sensor?
about
Incense burner.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that one.
its design is very simple. It's very nice, like good quality, but the design overall is very simple. But the engravings on it, I'm trying to look and recognize it, and I thought maybe they were religious symbols, but I don't see a single one on here. But every time and then I tried to think maybe it was a language and maybe it's sigils, but every time I look away or even blink, it changes. And I'm looking at something completely different. Like, it's like when you don't blink for a long period of time and you blink again and everything is kind of blurry and you're trying to... It's like that. But it's rearranging. And different. And confusing. That's just very fascinating to me because of how simple the design is. I don't recognize what it could be. Okay, what an odd smell that was, but... digress.
Gore, can you give me a perception check?
Oh god. 16.
16. Seems brighter out. It's like you just now realized that there's like more sun out than there was a second ago.
Feel brighter than anybody else.
Does the weather...
It does seem brighter out.
Yeah?
Yes.
It's a little weird.
Does it look like the fog has lifted? Is that what it is?
Make a perception check.
Okay. 18, I think.
18.
Yes, 18.
The fog seems to be pretty stationary. The wind is still blowing. Like, it's still relatively clear out in the sky. It's just like as if you're getting more sun right now.
Like, it's not illuminating anything, it just feels like maybe it's like on top of me.
Like, you know how like at certain hours of the day it's brighter. Like it just feels like it got brighter out. Just instantly.
That is odd. The fog doesn't seem like it's lifted.
Oh, Dad, what time is it?
It should be... not that time.
You look up, and the sun is directly above you. It is noon exactly. It was previously just like probably like 10.
We should...
Did we just time travel?
we should probably check to make sure we're going in the right direction still.
Yeah. Goes to the wheel.
Oldet checks the map again and goes and like adjusts the rudder a little bit just to make sure that you guys are like still perfectly on course, but you're still going pretty much the same direction. You just seem to have lost an hour and a half. They walk back over to where they set the incense burner down. Sorry, what were you saying?
Oh, it's just through the fog with the perception check. I still can't make out anything past the fog. It's still just really dense.
Make a new perception check for me. Lots of perception
okay, cool.
checks.
He's just gonna look and see if there's. Math. 14.
14. The water appears to be like, as the day has gone on, the water has gotten like a little bit lighter in color, like you're getting closer to land, but you still can't see anything outside the fog. It seems to be
Okay.
like you've apparently moved forward, especially since the map says so, but it's all just fog and ocean.
He's gonna go back over to where Old Dut is. It looks like we're still headed. There's still nothing in front of us. I wonder if maybe we just... It happened and we just, in that instant, became stuck and reappeared. I'm going to think on it. I'm just spitballing, you know.
Yeah. That's weird.
I'm not going to touch it. Can I just have more of a look at it?
Yeah, and they hold it up in front of you again. Kind of holding it lower down the chain so it's still pretty steady so you can like kind of like crouch and take a look at it. Gore,
Yeah.
what are you doing while this is happening?
He is going to be actively steering now, or like holding it and getting a good look of the surroundings in the water.
Okay. Make a perception check for me if you so wish.
19.
All right.
Ooh.
I'll come back to you in a moment. Erithar, you taking a goose and a gander?
A goose and a gander, and maybe perhaps an egg.
An egg falls from the sky.
Jesus Christ. Can I take in a goose gander and an egg at it again, make an arcana check looking at it again, and with the knowledge of what just happened as well?
Yes.
That feels...
Yeah, make an arcana check for me.
Okay, cool. Okay. It's like, I thought it was a 2. It's a 12 that I rolled. Which is better. 10 better even, one would say. 19.
19.
18, sorry. 18. Another 18.
You get close down to it again and start to look it over. Now looking at it as magic or as sigils or some sort of combination of something. Trying to make sense out of any of it. Even if you can just see a single sigil that would make any part of this make sense, you are looking intently, keeping your eyes open for as long as possible as you stare at one piece at a time to look over it. And it is baffling and exciting and infuriating how none of it looks anything like any magic you've ever seen before. Sigil based, like runes, nothing. Even the shapes of the squiggles that are on the side of this are so strangely shaped that they don't resemble any language that you're familiar with. It all just kind of looks more like chicken scratch. It more resembles something that Old Det came up with when they were a kid to make up their own language than it does any written language you've seen before. It doesn't look like Old Det's writing. Like, you've seen Old Det's writing, you're familiar with the shapes of it and stuff like that, but it more resembles chicken scratch than it does any sigil system you've seen before. And whatever effect it seems to have seems to be psychic, or time-based, or something of a combination, maybe. And the smell of the smoke. Even the way the smoke seemed to warp along the edges. It's all just so incredibly strange. You said it was an 18?
Yes. Yes. Sorry.
This doesn't feel draconic or elvish, or even when sorcerers try to write down their magic and they have to come up with some weird sorcery version based on the language that they know, it all kind of still has a similar look to it. This is just not any of that. Gore, as you're standing up there steering the boat, looking out over everything that's happening, the fog is still pretty present. It's pretty tall by this point, too, and it's strange, as the sun has gotten directly above you, you would assume that the fog would start to burn off. And it has started to. Slightly. The fog is getting lower as it's gotten apparently to noon and is no longer morning. And as it starts to burn off, the wind has gotten a little bit stronger, and you've noticed, apparently at some point in that time also, though you hadn't noticed it in the instantaneous change, the water had gotten a little bit, not like choppier, but a little bit rockier. And as you stare out over the ocean, looking back down to your companions every once in a while, looking to make sure that everything with the incense burner is going all right, you do eventually start to look back up as the waves start to get bigger. Gradually, until a certain point you look up, and almost as the fog is dissipated slightly, you see a very, very large wave coming directly at you.
Oh my god.
I would like to know what you are doing in this moment. And I would also like Erithar and Oldette to make dexterity saving throws.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. I've got a technical question.
Mm-hmm.
Is the wave crashing, or is it like getting ready for a tsunami, like woo, you know?
You know on Deadliest Catch, when the wave gets like really tall but hasn't quite crested over. It's not the full tsunami where it's just like real round, but it's creating the wave shape, and the boat would have to go all the way up it to get over it.
Yeah.
That's what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Should make a tally mark for every time you say yeah.
And is it like coming this way and we're going this way?
Oh yeah, just like perpendicular, directly on. It's coming right at you.
Christ.
Fuck. I think he's gonna immediately scream out, "Grab something!" And he's gonna try and Tokyo drift it sideways so it bobs over the wave.
Okay, so you're kind of trying to go at an angle so you can like cut across it and over it.
Yeah.
Okay.
'Cause I think that's maneuver, if I'm not mistaken. If you're on like a sailboat and that happens, I think that's maneuver.
Yeah. I would love a performance check. And while that's happening,
boy.
Erithar, what did you roll?
12.
12. Okay. All right.
17.
17. Okay.
Another 7.
All right. Okay. Let's see. You start to see this incoming as the waves are still kind of getting like larger and you're going over them, and it's not quite like rocking you side to side, but you're just kind of making this like large swooping motion that's getting bigger and bigger like by the second. And as the fog is kind of dissipated slightly, and you see this massive, giant wave coming towards you, starting to crest over the top, not quite crashing yet, but getting to the point where it could soon. You call out to your companions, who by this point have started to feel the rocking of the boat. Erithar, you and Oldet both turn and look and see what Gore sees, as it is so far above you by this point. You, I assume, immediately start to run to grab onto something, yes?
Yeah, no, the fucking, like, one of the masts where the things are tied, like, one of those things, whatever, or just the side railing, whatever's closest, just immediately.
You are closest to the mast, you rush over to where all of these huge ropes are tied together, and where the mast itself is still quite large around, but you wrap your arm around these bunches of ropes and all of these knots that are tied and kind of hug onto the mast. As Oldet scurries kind of close to your side where the railing is closest to the mast and starts to hold on as well. As Gore, you start to turn the boat, fighting with the wheel, trying to get it to turn as best as you can. You can feel the boat dragging through the water as the current is starting to pick up towards the wave. As you start to go up and up and up the side of the wave, you are starting to turn, trying to get closest to where you can go over the wave, kind of cresting over the side instead of going directly up the front. So far, it seems to be working. And Erithar, as you're holding on as best as you can, you see the water start to crash over the side of the boat, splashing over the side, sea foam coming down towards you, splashing over yourself, soaking your clothes, going straight, like, crashing basically directly onto Oldet as they hold on to the side of the boat. As the water starts to clear off the side and the boat rocks sideways, almost turning completely on its side at a 45-degree angle, as the boat continues to move upward and upward and upward, you watch as the water crashes over Oldet, and Oldet manages to lean forward and hold on to the railing, putting their entire body onto the railing and holding on as you are slammed against the mast, and as the incense burner is ripped from their hands.
Damn it!
It is now cresting over with the wave directly towards you as it crashes down onto the deck of the boat, and is starting to get slid across the side on the slanted part of the deck down directly past you. What are you doing?
There's no way he can try to grab it while he's still holding on to the mast, or like I don't remember where all the ropes are, but like if there are ropes, he can hold on to the rope and go grab
I'd say you can try.
Or catch up with his foot. What's up?
I'd say with the way that it's going, if you want to try to, like, reach and grab it as it slides past you, you can. I will probably either need a dexterity saving throw, or if you would like to try to give some other check and explain to me what type of check you would like to make.
It's Erithar's Indiana Jones.
They each gotta have one.
Christ. You said dexterity saving throw, right? For the base one?
That's what I would say, because you're reaching for it and also trying to stay held on to the thing, and that I'll use that for both of those things.
Can I do acrobatics? And can it be like he's holding on? You said there's no rope, or there is rope?
You've kind of got, like, where all of the ropes come down into, like, this big metal peg and they're all tied in this really intricate knot. You've kind of wrapped your arm around those ropes to hold on to them.
Can it be where he's holding onto it and he leans down, because it's acrobatics? It's like, can he use his foot to kind of grab the chain and his arm to reach forward and kind of pull back onto the post? Because would that qualify as acrobatics? Because it's like, or he's not in movement, so I don't know if
I'd allow an acrobatics. I think I can see a way that this works. So if you would like to make an acrobatics check, you can.
Okay. Fuck, I already... Oh, that's a 12.
12. Okay. All right. You
One day.
you watch as it starts to wash across this slanted deck in front of you with this gallons of seawater that has crested over the side. Oldet is now soaked. They look like a drowned rat. And as you watch almost in slow motion as it starts to slide across the deck towards where the boat is slanted just down into the open ocean, you start to lean, pulling the ropes with you with one arm, leaning over, trying to kind of stick your leg out to catch any part of the chain that you can, while also reaching for it with your hand, hoping to grab any part of it to stop it from ricocheting out into the ocean. Gore, as this is happening, you watch the wave crash, part of the water kind of like slip up over and make its own wave to crash over the side of the ship as you maneuver your way forward. And it's just as you're reaching the top of this huge, ginormous wave where the boat is starting to go almost up over the top of the wave, the front part of the boat, the point starting to point up into the air, that you feel it start to crest over, that it's when Aerithar reaches for this incense burner. You feel the rope kind of slip in your arm slightly, and you feel your hand grab onto it, getting rope burn across your palm as your side hits into the bottom of the deck as you slide forward, hand reaching out for the chain and connecting with the side of the incense burner.
Oh no!
I need everyone to make wisdom saving throws for me.
Oh my god.
19.
20, dirty 20.
Dirty 20, okay.
Oh wait, hold on, sorry. That's 19. Sorry, I misremembered it as a +1. It's a +0. So 19 for me.
19. Okay. Let me just check something real quick. Yep, okay. You reach out, grabbing onto this incense burner, as you feel the water continue to rush off to the side and the boat start to lean upward instead of to its side, pushing you down now, slamming you back against the mast, your back hitting the mast as you're still holding on to all of the ropes with your one hand, the boat now slanting backwards instead of to the side. The incense burner in your hand, as you feel your palm connect with the cold metal, starts to billow smoke. Smoke begins to start pouring out of it, that same sickly, acidic smell pouring out of it as the iridescent smoke seems to start to warp the air slightly, as if you're looking through like a funhouse mirror, as it continues to billow and billow and billow. You start to like feel it kind of, again, like almost as if it's like invading into your sinuses. You start to feel lightheaded and everything starts to swirl around in your brain. Gore, as you finally crest over the top of this wave, you see as the smoke starts to billow out from behind the mast and just fall directly down towards you. Can you repeat your saves again for me? It was a
19.
19 and a dirty 20?
I think we both had 19.
19s. Alright, and then Oldet. As the boat finally crests over the top and it crashes onto the opposite side of the wave as it starts to flow downwards, the smoke is still billowing out. You stand back up, Aerithar, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
As the waves begin to rock again ahead of you. Gore, you have to fight with the wheel to keep it in line as it crests over the opposite side of this wave, and the water starts to churn up again, splashing over the front and onto all of you again. You are all soaked, head to toe. The boat deck is slick with water as Aerithar, you start to fall forward. Oldet kind of lets go of the side of the railing and falls forward. Aerithar, what are you doing in this moment? As finally the boat is still rocking greatly, like it's still like bumping up and down and rocking side to side, but you're not having to hold on for dear life. What are you doing?
Where is it? You said it fell backward to where Gore is?
No, the
Gore?
smoke did when the boat leaned up. It's still in your hand. You like gripped it and immediately fell backwards.
he's gonna immediately remove his hand from the body of it, and he'll hold on to the chain.
Mm-hmm.
And where's Oldet? Sorry.
Oldet kind of just fell kind of directly in front of you. They got kind of shoved off of the railing now that they're not having to, like, hold on. But as the waves rock, they kind of got bounced forward, and they fell kind of across the deck in front of you.
Okay. And the waves are... So we're over the wave, it's just that we're in rocky water?
Yeah. You've gotten over the giant wave, but now it's just a bunch of really severe waves in front of you.
Yeah, he's gonna probably go hold onto the side. Mm-hmm. Or is he? Sorry, I'm sorry. Is he by the mast still, or did he fall like further forward?
So you were kind of in front of the mast, pointed towards the front of the boat. That's where you were holding onto the ropes. The thing started to slide in front of you, so you, like, basically slid forward across the deck to grab it in front of you, and that's when you hit the wave, and you fell backwards into the mast. So you're still facing the front of the boat. Your back is now to the pole of the mast.
Okay, he's probably still gonna hold on to the mast if the water's still rocky, but he'll make another perception check and just see if there's another wave imminent, or maybe, I don't know, land.
Mm-hmm.
And also, looks up to see the time of day, probably. If it's still afternoon or if it's later in the day.
Okay. As that's happening, Gore, could I get you to make a perception check for me as well?
16.
16. Alright. You look up as well, having finally gotten over this gargantuan wave ahead of you, and now you see rocky water. The water is dark here, and where the fog is somewhat dissipated, the clouds in the sky have gotten grayer. Not quite into stormy territory, but just like an overcast, grayish sky ahead of you with this choppy, severe water. You think you're going in the correct direction. It's hard to see the sky as well and the sun. You can still see where the sun is cutting through, lighting up everything ahead of you. It's not dark out, but it's hard to maneuver forward knowing where you are. Could I get either like a survival check or a performance check to try to navigate through these waves?
Yeah. 18.
18.
I'll do performance again.
Alright. 18. Yes. Okay. As you start to again turn the wheel, trying to get the best sense of direction out in these awful waves that have suddenly basically kind of come out of nowhere, you continue on forward. Arithar, you were taking a look around and holding back onto the mast, right?
Yeah.
As you start to look around, you see a lot of what Gore does as well. The severe water that has suddenly spawned around you, and the incense burner where you've now grabbed it from the chain is now swinging violently in the wind and with the waves. Oldet is pulling themselves up, trying desperately to get to the opposite side of the boat to hold on to the railing again, and they do manage to do so. As everything continues to rock and churn, Gore begins to start to maneuver the boat forward, and the wind is still picking up. You're moving incredibly fast across the water, but it's all churning. You start to look around to see if you can take in where the sun may be, but as you start to do so, all of the movement and everything that's happening, and the smallest bits of the smell that is still stuck in your nose feels overwhelming, and you almost get lost as if you're dizzy looking around. Gore, where you're standing, you can see the incense burner basically swing from one side to the other of the mast as Arithar is on the opposite side of you from the mast, and you can see it swing and swing and swing and swing. And it's not billowing smoke anymore, but it still catches that light, as it swings in your vision. You're staring ahead, keeping an eye on everything that is happening in front of you. And suddenly it all goes black. Vision gone. The sound of the waves crashing everything. Suddenly black. The sound of water in your ears overtakes everything else. Questioning rolls over you. Something beckoning you forward. Like the swishing of the incense burner in front of you, catching that small bit of light, there is now something swishing in the water behind you. It cuts off these thoughts suddenly, and there's a spike of desperate anger, like nothing you've ever experienced before. The black is closing in. Those understanding, relating emotions beckoning you forward, suddenly overwhelmed with strain and darkness and cold, icy water. Impatient rolls over you again. The force of everything in your mind makes you feel as if your cells are starting to fall apart in the midst of isolation. It's like absolution. And there's power in that absolution, but it is raw chaos, too. You suddenly snap awake. Still standing at the wheel, steering towards forward, as Aerithar, as in this chaos, as you're looking around, trying to gain your sense of self again, trying to stop being so dizzy and seasick, you seem to blink and shake your head for a moment, and it's like it's slightly darker out, as if it's no longer high noon, but instead further into the afternoon, and you're kind of swearing at yourself. But as you start to look forward, the waves have calmed slightly. They're still large and rocking in places, but it's not this violent churning anymore. The fog has returned in places, not this high, dense fog anymore. But in the low afternoon sun, the fog still lies out ahead of you, and the sky has gone from that gray to a darker blue again. And slowly everything starts to calm, and calm further. Oldet stands up, the swinging of the incense burner calms again, and as it stops swinging so violently in front of you, you start to notice, over the sound of the waves, something clanging on the inside of it as it swings, as if something is inside the incense burner. Eventually, the waves calm, and rather suddenly, you are on nearly smooth water. Dense fog still ahead of you, but the clouds are starting to clear. You all start to get your bearings for a moment, I assume. Is there anything that you're doing in this split moment as the waves suddenly start to calm and you start to move towards this dense fog in front of you?
I think Aerithar kind of looks back to make sure that Gore is still up there. And I think he'll probably turn and make it, seeing Gore up there, kind of turn and make his way, start to make his way over towards Oldet with the chain in hand, holding it a greater distance away from him than he did before. Kind of keep it still, making sure it's not also swaying or moving.
Yeah. Oh, you froze for a second. There you are. Okay.
Oh.
Sorry. Yeah, you walk over to Oldet, who has stood up from the side of the ship now, soaking wet, still. Though starting to, puff up slightly, as apparently time has passed. As you all start to look around, you can see from where it was probably approximately noon, though maybe a little bit after once you finally hit the wave. It's now closer to like 2:30, even closer, maybe getting towards 3. You look forward again. Gore, is there anything that you wanted to do during this? As you start to
be vigilant that it doesn't happen again.
hold on to the wheel still tightly and move forward, Oldette starts to walk up towards the front of the boat to take a look out across everything, still kind of glancing down at the incense burner every once in a while. Now, thankfully, very still and untouched in front of the both of you. And as you look up again towards this mist that you see, your boat has finally reached it. And as if you expect to suddenly hit a wall of mist, it begins to dissipate. Awe is a good word to use, I think. As the mist and the clouds clear, and this sudden wall of humid air suddenly vaporizes into clear wind swirling around you, you suddenly stand on your boat as it moves forward this false wall of mist before a broken majesty of looming awe and despair. Moving through this wall, you look back and see that no such thing existed. That wall of fog is not there, and you can see clear past it in just a bit of wind. Looking back forward, you suddenly see, directly in front of you, an island, as you expected to see. A vast, almost crescent moon-shaped island facing directly towards you, a large lagoon in the middle. Tall, green mountains pull up into spires towards the back, and in the center of this lagoon, a dense green island within an island. Around that, you see floating bits of rock, creating their own little air islands up above this island. One completely covered in ice. Another seems to be as if all the leaves are perpetually in autumn. Several other places, they're broken apart. And the beauty, this mass of rock and greenery and lush, almost jungle-like foliage, is in places interrupted. Huge spires of what appear to be thick, solid glass pierce through the mountains at odd angles. Bits of building that you can see created out of stone, built into the side of mountains, or in this center island where this huge, almost temple-shaped stone used to be, broken apart in places, cut through by these spires of glass that seem to erupt from the surface. Bits of beach that you can see melted together, molten in places and burnt, as if it was scorched into nothing. Pieces of the island that are closest to you that pull out in a crest towards you, decimated, as if they were burnt into lava rock in a single swipe. There's a sandbar close to you, and even there you can see where pieces of the sand had solidified into glass, as if they were struck by lightning over and over and over again. Pieces of the island are floating up and crashing down suddenly, as if it's a cycle that seems to be happening on this island. You can hear the impacts far away, of these rocks getting pulled up into the air as if by wind and suddenly dropping back to the earth. On the opposite side from you, where you can see just the barest edge of the opposite side of the island, you can see giant waves forming, freezing, glitching, and then breaking apart into shards of glass and crashing onto the beach. As if every part of this island is just slightly broken. Erithar, as the fog clears and your boat begins to pass this broken sandbar close to you, something drops like lava into the bottom of your stomach. And I think that's where we're going to end it tonight.
Game.
So we will pick back up with actually getting you guys into this bitch next week. But you made it.
Can't wait.
That's gonna be fun.
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna be so fun.
All right. Well, good job, guys. You managed to pass the checks for the psychic damage, so congratulations. This was a very interesting session to me. You both look so broken. Okay.
Man. Or just wants to go home.
Yeah.
But Gore, why? What if there's no home to go back to, Gore? What then? Combustion.
Well, I think that's where I'm going to turn the stream off. So, thank you to who have been in the chat. I think we've had a couple people come in and out. I haven't been able to really check it much since I've been looking at Roll20 and my notes, but I think somebody else followed us, so if that person is still here, thank you. I don't know. But I think we're out. So we'll be back. Bye.
Bang.
Bye.